Welcome back to Logic. My name's Tom, and today we are going to talk about self-deception. It's the final part of our kind of section on psychological obstacles to critical thinking. So, what is self-deception? Really simply, it is lying to oneself, right? You're deceiving yourself. So when it comes to argumentation and inferences and logic the way we've been talking about it, or just reasoning in general, this can be a big problem, right? Because I can believe the premises and not recognize that I believe the premises when I try to infer a conclusion. So I infer the wrong conclusion, or I can believe, or I cannot believe the premises and believe the conclusion. The whole structure of a deductive inference, or a valid deductive inference, where if the premises are true, then the conclusion must be true, um, kind of goes awry because the true and the false um, kind of get skewed. You can't really tell which one is which. So, for example, here, let's say I believe, and I really do believe, that everyone should get an education, right? That education is important, and I also believe that I don't like my job, right? And I want a better one. I also believe that if I get an education and go back to school, then I'll get a better job, right? I really believe all those things. But when it comes to enroll for the semester, I just kind of let it go and tell myself, whatever, my job's okay. My job's fine, right? Um, I can't really believe all those things at the same time, right? There's some degree of self-deception that's in play there where I'm kind of not being honest with myself about what's going on. One of those things has got to give. So, all of that to say is that, if one is not clear about what one really does believe, then these various logical tools won't be very effective, right? But when we get into the idea of self-deception, it's actually a very rich topic. So, for example, the idea of lying to oneself is very tricky notion, right? A lie is not just saying something that's false, but it's saying something false with the intent to deceive, right? So if I am lying to myself, then I'm the same person that's trying to intentionally hold something back from myself. And a question arises about how that's possible, right? Um, the idea of self-deception kind of falls under a broader heading of self-consciousness, right? And self-consciousness, self-awareness, right? The way in which we have reflective attitudes towards ourselves. And one view of self-consciousness, which is a pretty intuitive one, is that self-consciousness is really about what they would call second order attitudes towards our own mental states, right? So it's when we have beliefs about our beliefs, or we think about our thoughts, these kinds of things, right? They're second order, right? And some people think this is what self-consciousness is really like. You just kind of think about your thoughts, or you have mental states about your mental states, and and they also think when it comes to self-consciousness, what's unique about it is that we have kind of immediate access to our own thoughts, right? We have a privileged access to our own minds that we don't have to other people's minds, right? So when I want to know what you're thinking, I'm kind of reliant on what you tell me or what you do, these kinds of things, and vice versa with you. Um, uh, when you're trying to access my thoughts, right? But my own mind, I can kind of just scan in there and think, well, scan my memories, or I can scan my beliefs, what I think about something, if I hesitate to answer a question or something like that. And it seems like I have direct access to it. The problem with this is it's not able to account for self-deception. Because if I have immediate access to my thoughts, then how can I get it wrong? Right? And people do get it wrong all the time. right? The example I gave about going to school, that's one that people, something along those lines is something that people encounter all the time. We see it in others and we suffer from it ourselves, uh, the example I believe I give in um, the discussion question is, if I say that my favorite ice cream is Rocky Road and I claim it and I really believe it, right? I really think Rocky Road's best. But every time we go out for ice cream, I order chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, right? Something's not right there. My actions don't match up with my declared beliefs. And I can really, really think that Rocky Road is my favorite ice cream, but my actions kind of, um, uh, you know, they reveal that maybe my beliefs are not what I think they are, right? And so this kind of like second order picture doesn't really account for this. Okay. So, and then here's the real problem with self-deception is that if I am suffering from self-deception, I am by definition not aware of it, right? That's part of what self-deception is. I don't know that I don't know something, right? And so this, of course, like I've mentioned, would provide a real significant and does provide a real significant obstacle to critical thinking and logic, right? Because here one thinks that one is thinking correctly when one is in fact not, right? And so you're going to continue to use those tools, those bad tools, as you kind of critically analyze things and try to think critically about things. Um, so, oftentimes when people think about critical thinking and they think about what a critical thinking or a logic course does, is that you basically analyze and try to tear apart the arguments of other people, right? And sometimes we do this as an exercise, right? You look at what someone said and then you say, oh, actually, this is problematic and this is problematic, and so on and so forth. But if this is kind of what critical thinking really just amounts to, and you have bad tools, right? You have bad reasoning, you're employing that bad reasoning, then you will not be able to, all you'll be able to do is say that that person is reasoning poorly because they're not reasoning the way I reason, right? So if you want to really get good at critical thinking or you want to make real advances in critical thinking, um, one has to call into question one's own beliefs, right? Um, and I think this is really what critical thinking is all about. It's about being able to question what one what one really believes, right? One's own beliefs as opposed to someone else's, right? And I think that's the only way that a person really is going to mm, mm, advance in critical thinking and refine their reasoning and so on and so forth. So um, how do we do this? Of course, it seems like we're kind of caught here if we're always employing some standards of reasoning when we're analyzing others. I think the answer is not that difficult, right? We do a lot of the stuff we do in this class. We present our own reasoning to others. We engage in conversations. We engage in writing. We put out our own justification for our own beliefs out in paper and try to firm them up and clarify them. And then we examine that and we examine that with other people and we consider the opposing point of view and really dig into that. And we go through different exercises to try to put our own beliefs in jeopardy, right? Um, and through doing this, right, we get to a place where we get more satisfied with the way we're reasoning, right? And so I think this is really what logic and critical thinking is about. And um and i don't and I think if you stop for a second, this is not really a lofty or academic pursuit, right? the way I'm kind of casting critical thinking here is that it's about overcoming self-deception in various forms, and we've already seen that self-deception, arises in all kinds of our endeavors, right? Um, Self-deception impedes our own pursuits, right? When we're lying to ourselves about things, we're not clear about what we want and the things we need to do to get there, right? Um, so this can affect our career choices, our relationship choices, where we choose to live, our political beliefs, and all kinds of practical pursuits, right? And so, the way I really think about this course and a lot of things we touched upon in this course is that critical thinking is about achieving a certain degree of clarity in our thoughts. And this, in turn, allows us to be better at doing what we want to do, right? There's a certain kind of like self alignment that happens here. We learn to avoid stumbling upon obstacles that we put in place for ourselves. And critical thinking really allows us to organize and prioritize our thoughts, our ambitions, our activities, our values in such a way that we are more successful at attaining our own goals, right? And actually, one can see this kind of coming to the forefront in business a lot. There are a lot of business models that are about this kind of stuff, being very clear within an organization about what your values are, what your goals are, cutting off your, what would you say, getting rid of a certain amount of fat when it comes to decision making and being effective as an organization. But, anyways, um, this is all kind of to wrap up a lot of what we've done in the course here and to try to emphasize, looking at these psychological obstacles and looking at the valid forms of inference that we've gone over and the principles of inductive and deductive reasoning. This is all about getting clearer about, kind of the rational world we already live in, right? And being able to get our thinking to kind of work for us a little bit better, right? And this should carry on well beyond any kind of philosophy class, right? Into whatever your major is. People will continue. I mean, you can carry critical thinking and logic skills into all kinds of areas of your life, right? It's something that we just don't stop doing. As Aristotle said, we're rational animals, right? It's part of our essence. So, anyways, that's where I'll leave it. And that's it for today. Thank you.